sgnews is at a very sacred place. This is where the tomb of Saint John situates. John, as you know, he had the revelation about the seven churches. Even though Saint Paul, who planted the seeds and nurtured the church here in Ephesus, Saint John is the one who strengthened it, Jesus' beloved disciple. Let's go through the visuals and see what the place looks like today. The ruins of St. John's Basilica stand on the Ayasluk Hill, the modern Turkish city of Seljuk. St. John, who was the beloved disciple who walked with Jesus during his ministry. He was the disciple who saw the risen Jesus face to face. He's the one who received the revelation about the seven churches. Here, on this very ground, the apostle's body was laid to rest. What we see today is truly heartbreaking. Open to the sky, the tomb of Saint John the Apostle remains in its place. Emperor Domitian exiled Saint John to the Greek island of Patmos. Years later, he returned from exile to this land in Turkey, to Ephesus, ancient city now called Seljuk. After his death, he was buried here. Emperor Justinian I built the Basilica of St. John to honor him at the exact location. This basilica was constructed in the 6th century, completed in 565 AD. In its time, this basilica was more magnificent than any other building in the world. In the ancient Ephesus, the temple of the pagan goddess Artemis was counted among the 7 wonders of ancient world. St. John's Basilica was so magnificent that it rivaled even that wonder. The basilica rose under 6 majestic domes, but today it lies in complete ruin, collapsed and broken. Arab invasions and natural disasters like earthquakes brought the basilica to this condition. The tomb of St. John the Apostle, Jesus' beloved disciple, has received less recognition than the tomb of St. Paul and St. Peter. St. John's tomb stands in the middle of all basilica ruins, between the ancient altar and pulpit. Today, not many people visit this quiet place. This is not just a place of historical interest. It is a destination for pilgrims seeking the intercession of St. John the Apostle himself. Though the times has reduced the basilica to ruins, its spiritual and historical importance remains unchanged. Ephesus was one of the 7 churches mentioned in the book of Revelation and held great importance during that time. Of those 7, Ephesus was the most significant. Its Christian heritage is embodied by the Basilica of St. John. Today, even in ruins, the Basilica continues to symbolize the lasting legacy of Christianity in Ephesus. sgnews invite you to join us on this pilgrimage to the Basilica of St. John. Ephesus appears in historical records from the earliest periods of human civilization. We can trace ancient history throughout Ephesus. For much of history, Ephesus was the region with a strong Christian presence, perhaps equal to Rome in importance or even greater. Ephesus was the city of immense significance to the Christian community. Yet the fate of Ephesus, once the second greatest city of Roman Empire, is truly tragic. The region where ancient Ephesus once thrived now lies within the modern Turkish city of Seljuk. Natural disasters and Islamic conquest led to the destruction of Ephesus. Whenever we read of Ephesus in Holy Scripture, we immediately think of Saint John, who reclined at Jesus' side during the Last Supper, the beloved disciple of Jesus Christ. We arrived in Ephesus with great hope to reach the Basilica of Saint John, where his tomb lies. But what we saw was deeply heartbreaking. On Ayasalik Hill near Seljuk, ruins of Saint John Basilica lie, shattered and broken. A sight that brings deep sorrow to any Christian heart. Church tradition tells us that Saint John the Apostle preached the gospel in Ephesus. The teaching of Irenaeus, disciple of Saint Polycarp, the teaching of Addai of Edessa, and the teaching of Saint Jerome confirm this truth. Tradition holds that during fierce persecution in Jerusalem, the Blessed Virgin Mary and Saint John the Apostle came to Ephesus together. Under Emperor Domitian's reign, John was banished to the island of Patmos, where he received the visions as recorded in the book of Revelation. Later, when Emperor Nerva came to power, John was freed and returned to Ephesus, where he continued his mission. It was in Ephesus that he wrote his gospel. Saint John the Apostle is believed to have died at the age of 97, near the end of the 1st century. He was buried at Ayasalik Hill, about 2 kilometers from where ancient Ephesus stood. During Emperor Theodosius' reign, a chapel was built where Saint John's tomb lay. The chapel had a timber roof. By the 6th century, however, age has made this chapel unusable. Emperor Justinian I and his Empress Theodora commissioned a magnificent cathedral to be built where Saint John's tomb rested. Emperor Justinian also built the renowned Hagia Sophia Cathedral. The Basilica of Saint John in Ephesus was an architectural masterpiece of its time. The church was designed with 6 domes to rival the architectural splendor of Ephesus' Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The interior of the church, which proclaimed the glory of the Roman Empire, was laid out in the shape of a cross. The cathedral complex measured 130 meters in length and rose 65 meters in height. As mentioned, after the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, the Basilica of Saint John was the largest place of worship built in that age. Had it not been destroyed by natural disasters and Islamic conquest, the Basilica of Saint John would rank as the 7th largest cathedral in the world. Saint John the Apostle's tomb rested beneath the basilica's central dome, one of the 6 that crowned the structure. Today, only 4 pillars remain standing around that tomb. Construction began in 548 AD and was completed in 565 AD. The church was built under the supervision of Hypatius, Bishop of Ephesus. In the early centuries, this church was Christianity's premier pilgrimage destination. Historical accounts tells us that local Christians regarded this church as deeply holy and sacred. A devastating earthquake around 1365 completely destroyed the church. History also records that in 1304, when Turkish forces invaded Ephesus, portions of this church were converted into a mosque. Yet the basilica had remarkable features: a keyhole-shaped baptismal font, a treasury chamber where sacred objects were kept, numerous chapels, centers for spiritual formation, the bishop's palace, and dormitories for visiting monks. Marble adorned the basilica's pillars and walls. Specially made mosaics covered the church floor. When construction was complete, countless icons depicting biblical events and figures were installed throughout the church. During the 7th and 8th centuries, massive fortification walls were built around the church for protection against Arab invasions. Among the earliest pilgrims to visit St. John's tomb before the basilica's construction was St. Augustine himself. On July 26, 1967, Pope Paul VI visited the basilica in prayer during his trip to Turkey. Today, this site is managed by Turkish government's Ministry of Culture and Tourism. Standing next to the basilica's ancient ruins is the Isabe Mosque. Very near the basilica also stands Ayasuluk Castle, a site of great importance to archaeologists. It is with deep sorrow that we visit these ruins of St. John's Basilica, where the tomb of St. John the Apostle lies, Jesus' beloved disciple, who received the visions of revelation, who wrote the Gospels and Epistles. The interior of this church, once filled with Christian prayers and sacred hymns, now lies in ruins and rubble. The sight is deeply painful. Through these ruins of the basilica and St. John's very tomb, dogs and cats now freely wander. The altar where holy priests and bishops in early centuries offered the Holy Eucharist now lies in ruins. To see dogs and cats climbing over the altar and walking on that sacred ground is deeply distressing. Standing on the ground where the body of St. John returned to dust, John, who was blessed to walk alongside the Son of God during his earthly ministry, who saw the risen Christ face to face in Patmos. Only one prayer fills the heart. May this land, blessed by the footstep of first apostles and Mother of God, return to Christian faith. This is our prayer. Today, deep silence fills the basilica, where Ephesus' early Christian community once proclaimed their faith with glorious tradition. That silence calls to the global church today. Pray for Turkey's Christian community. Understand what happened to the Christian faithful in these lands, in Asia Minor, which was Christianity's very cradle. Take to heart the lessons from these warnings.